messy the grain trading business is, the conclusion of the contracts, the execution, all this stuff. Aren't you fed up with all this? I wanted to ask, haven't you had enough of such negotiations, especially that different basically countries differ in terms of acceptance of the contract. If GAFTA accepts just an email saying, okay, I agree for this contract, no signature needed, but in, I don't know, in Russia, the contract without signature means nothing, etc. So, can we somehow avoid this mess? We need to think about it at least, right? And fortunately, yes, we can. There is a new technology, at least one of them, and many more coming, which can help us reduce this mess to the minimum, or probably reduce totally. So I'm going to talk to you today about this exciting technology, which is blockchain, in terms of application in our grain business. But first of all, let's get to the reality. The reality is this: we're still using paper original documents. Some of them, like bills of lading, don't even have the unique number. It's just fraudable at will. We still use faxes. We still use delivery couriers, and delayed documents at destination create enormous demurrage costs, obviously. So this all can be avoided. And the banking payments are extremely complicated, costly. For example, a regular dollar payment, you have at least two corresponding banks, but very often a third one, because American banks do not accept now a lot of emerging market banks. Okay, so more costs, more time, the SWIFT, messaging left and right, checking, etc. So, obviously all these pain points create suffering. But on the other side, we are living in a modern world. We are surrounded by the tech. Fintech, financial companies, they adopted very widely and extensively different technologies, digital documents, artificial intelligence, a lot of things. Even in Egypt here, the banks, I see they also, CIB, for example, they have Wise Wallet, It's great, it's for the people. So you've got agri-tech, farmers are all techy, they use drones, they use GPS and other smart technology. We've got Industry 4.0, these are smart factories all connected. Like for example, Bühler, the builder of milling machines, they now selling smart factories all connected to their central headquarters, and data is coming from the machines, analyze it, and then predictions going back to the milling plants, saying them when the best time will be for maintenance, etc. So there are smart cities appear in Asia, especially, and we are stuck like this poor vessel in the Azov Sea in the winter, when it sometimes freezes like this, So we call it, the problem, we call it archaic state of grain trading. So main pain points we basically identified are international trade is done almost exclusively in USD. Why actually, we all should trade in USD? There are ways to, now the ways coming to change that. There is an acute lack of trade finance. The trade finance costs, for example, in Turkey, due to Turkish lira collapse, they are at least 20% per annum. 20 to 30%. It's unworkable, you know. And in Switzerland, basically previously trade finance center, the banks are disengaging, only working with big multinationals because simply of too regulation, and they consider too much risks. So commercially inefficient contracts, yes, absolutely, because I mean, you know, all of you know when you trade how long you must chase another party for the signed contract. I mean, it's crazy. Sometimes it's a day, sometimes it's a week, more than a week, and the market change during this time. And this can be addressed, this problem. So in general, lack of solutions for small and medium-sized companies. So basically, blockchain, the technology we're going to talk about, will empower especially small and mid-sized traders. So the digitalization is slowly penetrating our space. We've got inspection companies' certificates, electronic certificates, already for more than 10 years. So why we use inspection electronic certificates for more than 10 years and not other documents? It's nonsense, right? So there are, for example, two services, ESS Docs and Bolero, who provide electronic bills of ladings. And these bills of ladings are backed by the majority of P&I clubs. That means they are readily available for use. This is what's needed, because if owner is okay, his insurance is okay. Yeah, let's go. But what I'm hearing from the traders is that banks are forcing them to still use paper bills because they want to keep documentary collection fees. But I think it's a matter of months. It will change very quickly. So what is blockchain? Blockchain obviously is not Bitcoin, or more precisely, not only Bitcoin. So blockchain is a technology, and one of the applications of blockchain is cryptocurrencies. But there are much more others. So blockchain is a computer code represented in the form of register, which is distributed very often on thousands of computers. And the thing is, you can basically register information, transactions, a lot of events like this, and it registers them permanently, forever. You cannot tamper with, you cannot change anything, because basically there is a consensus mechanism in the blockchain networks, and as soon as a hacker, for example, tries to change it on one computer, because the network is updating very often the whole network, they will immediately use the problem and reject it. So blockchain benefits are numerous. Obviously, it saves time, removes costs, as we've said, reduces risk, tampering, fraud, because obviously you're going to use digital docs, and nobody will be able to basically steal your original docs and then present to the master at the port of discharge and discharge the goods. No way, not possible anymore. Then blockchain increases trust. And here, I'd like to say, it more than increases trust. It actually, I mean, with blockchain, you don't need trust anymore. I mean, imagine, you trade with, so you trust a broker, you trust a trader, you trust a bank, you need some trust, right? But you limit the number of the counterparties you trade with, right? So you trade, for example, with, I don't know, 5-7 Russian companies in Egypt, because the others are hunky-punky, right? But actually there is a possibility to trade with much bigger number of parties, have a bigger choice. Why? with blockchain, because blockchain basically is called trustless. Why trustless? Because it doesn't need trust. The trust is in the nature of blockchain. And the principle, the general principle of blockchain is so-called atomic swap. So atomic swap, what is it? It actually enables two parties in the transaction to both get what they need to get, like money and goods, simultaneously. Or this transaction doesn't happen. So this is and that's why basically it can be enforced. The transactions can be enforced, and no doubts anymore. So in terms of blockchains, these are networks, and these are networks, and there are hundreds of them right now. There are public blockchains and private blockchains. Private blockchains, the most known are Bitcoin blockchain and Ethereum blockchain, which have around 10,000 computers in their networks, and they're the most secure, and they're more used. Then you've got private chains like consortium of big companies are using private blockchains because they don't want others, like only limited circle of participants to enter. And some companies, for example, I'm hearing Glencore is developing in-house blockchain just for them. Okay. Then these last couple of years, we've got several platforms appearing which basically use blockchain in agribusiness. So some of them actually tackling the logistics, supply chain inefficiencies, trying to bring blockchain to improve it. And these are mostly AgriChain and AgriDigital, which are Australian companies, and they're very efficient and they really do some good job. Then the others are basically taking care of negotiation, trading, and execution. These are Grains&Oils, Kratos, and our company Cerealia. Then the others are taking care of trade finance. We trade Congo. Congo is a consortium of 15 banks, and basically, they basically serve these banks and don't do, according to me, real innovation. It's just for these banks, they are worried that they will get behind in this blockchain evolution, and so they created this. So we at Cerealia, we targeting emerging market traders. We want to help them. So initially our focus is on Black Sea, Mediterranean Sea. So this is the market where I spent 20 years as a grain trader. And it equals 25% of the world grain trade flows, so it's not a small one. So first thing of our value prop is basically the platform for secure, encrypted negotiation of the contract, exchanging of firm bids, firm offers, and the conclusion of the contract, as well as execution, and all the actions are implemented on the blockchain. All the actions are signed numerically and implemented on the blockchain. So you've got irrefutable proof of all, not only signature of the contract, but all you did in your execution on the blockchain. And then, in case of arbitration, there is no possibility to argue, like in my colleagues, we have a lot of arguing, right? GAFTA, etc. No arguing includes smart contracts. Smart contracts are computer programs, basically, with pre-agreed contract conditions, and they execute automatically. So this, I will not say to you it works already. No, smart contracts are a little bit, how to say, too simple for our grain trading complex contracts. But step by step, they will take over. The contracts will be more automated. And for example, smart contract is basically an equivalent of electronic letter of credit. Okay, so you've got certain conditions, like you need to bring cargo documents, and then the payment should go ahead automatically. That's how it works. Nobody can stop it. It is like this. So for example, on our platform, you have, as I said, everything: negotiation, conclusion, execution. But for the payment, you will have a smart contract. You see, the one I just explained, similar to letter of credit. So then we're talking about blockchain and fintech-enabled payments, and we're gonna propose payments in respective national currencies. There are ways this technology can help on it. We're already talking with Turkish and Russian companies who are willing to trade in these currencies, not in Turkish lira or Russian rubles, but the Turkish buyer will pay Turkish lira and Russian will receive in rubles. That's what we aim to. Then obviously cryptocurrencies as they evaluate, not yet because they are too volatile, but very soon we will see the emergence of cryptocurrencies backed by the states, by central banks. Okay, there is one in Russia being in the works, one in Saudi Arabia, etc. These cryptocurrencies will be, I think, will be a good payment mode to use for grain trading. Then trade finance, we're gonna bring some new sources of trade finance to the parties, and this includes, for example, stable coins. These are cryptocurrencies which are artificially maintained, pegged to either dollar or gold, and that's why they are, there is no volatility in them. You just basically need to exchange them on a crypto exchange against fiat, which is a normal currency. For example, you exchange them against the ruble, and the ruble goes to the Russian originator to buy the goods. Okay, and this means it's a sort of trade finance. So we have a high qualified team. We have several blockchain developers, designers, and marketing people, and we have a very known board of advisors. You see the GAFTA president here, and chief of trading of Grains&Oils, who is present here as well, Mr. Cerealia. And then our milestones, just quickly. The first basically version of our platform we have done in October 2018, and the first pilot trade, by the way, again, has been done between Grains&Oils and Solaris Commodities, two very known companies on Black Sea. It's been a sale of 25K Russian million wheat on FOB Novo for December shipment, so it went well. Now we are approaching the pilot number 2, where we will add all trade execution taking place on our platform. Okay, and we plan to release live for June 2019. Later on, we're going to add tokenization, hedging parts to our project, and mobile version. So lately, we've been speaking at major grain events. So it was a pleasure. And yeah, I mean, this talks for itself. So I just, as my last word, I'd like to encourage you to actually use digital documents because it's more safe. It's more safe. It's faster. It's cheaper. So talk to your banks. Talk to your partners. Use digital docs. Think about using new technology, not only blockchain, but basically. Otherwise, you will stay behind. Even ABCDs, we know that they are in the process of creating a platform using blockchain, but they said mostly for post-trade execution. So they're going to use digital documents, but it's not for concluding the contract, okay? But nevertheless, it's a good development, because basically they are bringing use of digital docs into our business. Then the question whether you as a small mid-sized trader want to share your data with ABCDs on their platform, it's another question. Okay? So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Andrei.
Some questions?